Hello and welcome to today's video with your host Crochet Kiwi. In today's video, like I mentioned at the end of the previous one, I'm going to be showing you guys how to work in a round, but in a different way than using a magic circle. So we're going to start by one of the first stitches that I taught you how to do in one of my previous videos, and that is with the slip stitch. And this is where you take the yarn, you have the end of it in your right hand, the bulk of it in your left. You take the yarn from your left and you put it over top of the yarn from your right. So then you have a nice big loop to work with. Okay, and then we're going to pick up that loop like so. And we're going to take the crochet hook from our right hand and we're going to put it through that loop. We're going to grab the yarn from our left hand and we're going to pull it back through. Okay, and then you're going to take both the end of the yarn and the bulk of the yarn and you're just going to pull it. And that'll tighten it into what we call a slip stitch. And then, if I can grab it here, okay, and then we're just going to pull it again, just to tighten it up, just so it's tight enough that it won't fall off, but also loose enough that we can still work through it. Okay, and so it will look like this. And the next step is what we're going to do is form a chain. And to do that, so we take the yarn in our left hand, we wrap it around our hook, and we pull it through the loop that's already on our hook. Okay, and you're just going to do that over again. So we just wrap it around and pull it through, wrap it around and pull it through, and we'll just do this a few more times, just so we have a nice long chain to work with. So I'll do a few more. We'll keep it smaller today, just for the demonstration. Okay, so now we have a nice little length of chain here. Okay, and now what we're going to be doing was we're basically going to be working around this chain. And we're going to be doing that with single crochet stitches, which I also demonstrated in a previous video. So to start, so for the first stitch that we're going to do, again, we're not going to go into the stitch that's attached to our slip stitch. We're going to go into the next chain here. So the second chain, not the first one. Okay, so we're going to stick our crochet hook through the chain. We're going to grab the yarn from the other side, pull it through, and then we're going to wrap the yarn around our hook, and then we're going to pull it through those two loops. And that's our first one. And if it looks a little loose, don't worry about it. Like, this is how it's going to look until we finish the whole thing. So again, never worry about the way it looks until you actually start really working into it, because it may look a little loose or flimsy at first, but it will stiffen up and tighten up as you make more stitches. Okay, so you put your hook through the chain, grab the yarn from the other side, then wrap it around your hook again, and pull it through those two loops. Yeah, and we're just going to do this for each and every chain going across here. Go. Do 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 do. Okay. All right, so now we've done the chains along the one side. And now, instead of normally what you do if you're working just in rows, you would just flip it around, you keep working along that same side. But we're not doing that because we're working in a round. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep going around the other side. So once you get finished that row, you'll want to do one single crochet stitch on the very end part here. Okay, there we go. And then we're going to just tilt it this way. Okay, and then we're going to keep, like I said before, sometimes when you're making like a border around something, it won't have specific chains. It'll just have, you have to kind of use your best guesstimation of where to put each stitch. It's a little bit more evident here since it still kind of looks like a chain. But again, just make sure that it's relatively even in each space so it doesn't shrink it or make it longer. Okay, so we find the next space and we grab the yarn from the other side, through, wrap the yarn over, and pull through those two loops. And you're just going to do this in each space. So I'll just finish this up and then we'll get back to you. so we finished that side there, and now we've gone to this here. And just like when we did the magic circle, we're going to do a slip stitch to attach these last two ones together, just to connect it to make it a complete, well, in this case it's more of an oval than a circle, but you know what I mean. So that attaches the two ends together to complete the new, it doesn't really have a name, but I'm going to call it a chain circle. And now, just like the magic circle, you'll just keep working around the outside. And if you want to make it increasingly bigger, you just make an increase at each end. Or if you want to make corners, you just make an increase at each corner, or where you want the corners to be. Now, I find this is really great for making the bottoms of slippers. Because with slippers, you don't want it to be just a round circle. You want it to be more of a rectangle with rounded corners. And so this is perfect for that. You can also use this for making items like this. This is a phone case that I made for when I go on walks, so I could hook it onto my belt and not have to worry about not having enough space in my pocket. And so this is used on the bottom here. So what I did is I made this round here along the bottom. Let's see if I can get into focus here. There we go. And then without making it any bigger, I just kept working around it, and it kept it the same size. So I just kept going around and upwards until it was the length that I wanted. So this is great, yeah, for making pouches or phone cases as well. It has a lot of uses. Just for any time you want to make something that where you want to work it around, but you don't want it to be circular. You want it to have more length, or you want it to have it actually have corners, then this is a great way to do that. Now, another way you can work it around without making a magic circle is, again, starting off by making a slip stitch. So just do that here real quick. There we go. And then again, you want to make your starting chain. Okay. And then you go into making a nice long chain for however big you want your project to be. So let's say we're making mittens, okay, and you want to start from the cuff portion. So you start by making a chain. Okay, so that's long enough. It's going to be a very tiny mitten, but either way. Okay, so now you have a chain. Now, instead of working around it, what you're going to do is you're going to connect both sides of your chain. So you just find the very last little chain at the end of the other side. You stick your hook through it, and then you're going to grab the main part of your yarn here, and you're going to pull it through that chain as well as the chain on your hook. And now you have to be very careful when doing this, because you want to make sure the chain is all along the same size and hasn't been flipped around or twisted while you're attaching the ends. Because otherwise you'll find when you're making stitches around, all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's kind of flipped to the other side. That's not good. And then all you have to do is take your hook, and just like before, you're just going to, in every chain, you're going to make a single crochet stitch. Now, it doesn't have to be a single crochet stitch. It can be whatever stitch you want. But for simplicity's sake, I always find it easiest just to start with a single crochet stitch and then work into whatever other stitch that you want to use to continue on. Yeah, and then you just, again, you make just a stitch all the way around, and then you just keep working your way up and around. And this way you have a nice opening already, so you know how big it's going to be. And like I said, this would be a very small mitten, but you get the idea. So as you can see, there are lots of different ways to work in around depending on what you want to make. And you can also create your own ways of working it around that haven't been demonstrated. That's what I love about crocheting. It's a lot of implementing what you know, but creating something new from that. There's lots of times where I didn't know how to do something and I couldn't find videos that showed me how to do it. So I just kind of invented my own ways of doing it. And a lot of times they work. Crocheting is a great way to get creative. And that's one of the main reasons I don't follow patterns as much anymore, because when you don't follow a pattern, you literally, all you have is whatever stitches you know, a ball of yarn, and just whatever you can see them becoming inside of your mind. Which is how I'm able to turn yarn like this into something like this. And in the next video, I'm going to show you guys how to work with multiple colors of yarn in a single project. Until then, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And if you want to see any other things that I've already made, just visit my Facebook page, which I'll leave down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye!